Okay, can you guys see the slide?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay,
Okay, shall we start?
yes.
So, a good day to Mr. ADLI. Today, we will be presenting for EDUP 2102. The topic will be cultural diversity, educational equity. For that, let me introduce myself. I am Natasya binti Abdullah, and we have Isyarul Muqris and MIRA. Next slide, please. So, what is social culture? So, it refers to the interconnected influence of social structures and cultural norm on humans' behavior, belief, and interaction. So, social and cultural is more about people's, how people behave, how people think, and what is the major influence of that. That's because of their behavior, that's because of their background. Okay, so next slide. So, importance of social cultural diversity in classroom. So as you can see, this is a normal classroom. So I wrote there that our classroom are mirror of our diverse world. So we have to put in our mind that everything starts in that particular small room. So in that particular small room, we learn that every student is unique, every culture is unique, every race is unique. So in that class, we learned how to be um, respectful, how to know that these persons behave this way due to their background, due to their cultures, and due to what they have encountered in their house. So through um, so as a teachers, we have to teach our student to be mindful of their action, to celebrate the differences in cultures through the diversity in the classroom. So next slide, please. So how to diverse teaching style? So this is one of the most important question to be asked when we encounter, and as a teachers we have to diverse our teaching style. Okay, so next slide, please. So cultural responsive teaching (CRT). This is very well-known method, as now we are living in multicultural country where every race, every cultures need to be celebrated. So we have to integrate diverse perspectives and materials. So through the worksheet, through the slide, through the game, we have to use their cultural background. So we through CRT, we understand how students learn, how students think, and how students interact. So through CRT2, it allows us to show that their background is an asset, it's not deficit. So through the CRT, teachers can provide materials that enhance their cultural background, and maybe the students from another background to learn more about them. So example, use multicultural literatures and varied historical narrative. So maybe we can use, for example, like song like Kurit Kuni. So we know that we have the background knowledge of Malay culture. So next slide, please. Okay, so differentiated instruction. So teachers have to tailor their instruction based on students' abilities and background. For example, we can use tag, images, or videos that resonate with their student cultural experience. For example, we can show pictures of food. So we know that this particular food belongs to Chinese Chinese group. So like Yisang. So we know that if we teach them about the foods, so the student understand. that how to do it, the instructions. We as a teachers able to tailor the instruction based on their background and knowledge. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so overcoming prejudice and stereotype. As teachers, we have to establish classroom rules that emphasize respect, empathy, and inclusivity. So we have to understand that each of our cultures or race is unique. So we have to create a safe space for students, so they able to be to celebrate their own cultures in their own classroom, even though the classroom come from different backgrounds. So some people speak Malay, some people speak Chinese, but then how to create a safe space for them. So, for example, we can celebrate all major cultural religious events practiced by the student. For example, we can celebrate Hari Raya, and then we can celebrate Deepavali, and then that's allow us to show that every major cultural event is educational. So, next slide, please. Okay, so what are the rules of teachers in overcoming prejudice and stereotype? That is the big question, because prejudice and stereotype is very things that we commonly encounter nowadays. Prejudice and stereotype when it comes to race, we often put labels on that certain race. So what can we do as teachers to overcome prejudice in order to make our students respect others? So the first rule will be, next slide please. Okay, so we have to know that teachers are not judges but facilitators. So we have to facilitate open and honest discussion. So we allow students to speak their thought without taking account their background. So we celebrate their thought. So for example, we can do a debate. So through the debate, we can see the differences in their expressions of their thought, but we can give them as a teachers. We do not judge them, there's a no right or wrong, but we can give them accurate information so they can learn from their mistake, so from their prior knowledge and experience, and so cultural context, maybe they can tell it through the different lens. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so promote collaborative learning. So maybe we can do every group activities require students from different background field. So we know that every voice is valid, every cultures of every race is valid there. So the group, so students are given tasks to do and promote interaction, so they can exchange uh, their knowledge, and maybe their knowledge that has been built before can be improved in the way that other students understand better, in order to create a collaborative learning that is work from them. Okay, and then like field trip, maybe we can allow them to manage a field trip, so they can go to another place or place that celebrate another culture, so they can understand. Maybe we can send them to Ora Asli place, so they learn that, oh, Ora Asli have this, their own costume, their own foods, their own language, so that will make them know that our culture that is not that different, but similar in some way. Next slide please. Okay, media literacy. I believe that we encounter with media. Uh, every day we encounter with TV, movie, dramas, even the social media, the TikTok or the Facebook. So we as a teachers have to help the students to distinguish the goods and bad by understanding how media literacy works. And for example, often right now we see that media play a stereotype prejudice when it comes to a certain race. But we don't want to raise the student to be have the perspective in that way. So as a teachers, we can help them to recognize the common pattern in media in order to change or in order to tailor their mindset or their perspectives on a certain case. That will allow the student to create inclusive learning environment. So by media literacy, they will understand that every cultures can be good, and maybe that will enhance their ability in understanding other culture. I think that's all from me. Thank you. I will pass to Isyarul Muqris.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good day to Mr. Adli and to all my fellow friends. So I'm going to continue the presentation with the discussion about how can teachers integrate elements of cultural diversity into the teaching activities to add value to the students. So, in terms of multicultural classroom, integrating cultural diversity into teaching methods enhances student learning, and then it can foster inclusivity, and it will help build respect and understanding among students from different backgrounds. So there are a few key ways for teachers to achieve this. The first one is by using multicultural content in the curriculum. For the first point, we can see that literature and stories, select books, folk tales, poems from various cultures to promote cross-cultural understanding. It means that for example, in English lesson, students read stories from different cultures and such as Malays legends, Chinese folk tales, or Indians methodology. We have history and social studies, which highlight the contribution of various ethnic groups to national and global history. For example, teaching about Malaysia's independence. We acknowledging in the role of multiple ethnic groups in the struggle to achieve the independence of our country. Okay. The next step always we have promoting multilingualism in the classroom. It means that language is a key aspect of cultural identity, and teachers can create an environment that respects and encourages linguistic diversity. The first point is using multilingual signage that label classroom objects in multiple languages spoken by the students. For example, in Malay, Mandarin, Tamil, or English. Okay, and second point, we have encouraging code switching, which allow our students to express ideas in their native language before translating into the main classroom language. For example, a student explains a word in Tamil and the teachers have translated it into English for the class. Okay, the third one is we have celebrating cultural festivals and traditions. We can organize cultural days in school and invite the students to share their traditional attire, food, and customs. Festival-based learning, we can incorporate lessons around major cultural festivals like Hari Raya, Deepavali, Chinese New Year, or Gawai. Okay, the fourth one is encouraging collaborative and diverse group work. The first one is cross-cultural peer learning. That means we assign the students from different backgrounds to work together. For example, a science project in school where each group contributes a fact related to their cultural heritage. So we're going to get different cultural heritage story from each student from different backgrounds. Okay, for next point, we have student-led discussions on identity and cultures. It means that we create a safe spaces where students share aspects of their culture. For example, show and tell activities where we can ask the students to bring an item that represent their cultural background. Okay, next we are going to talk about the importance, uh, how important is professional training for teachers in addressing cultural diversity, and what types of training can help our teachers to become more sensitive to social cultural issues. So in today's multicultural classrooms, professional training plays a crucial role in helping teachers to navigate cultural diversity effectively. So it can ensure that our teachers can create inclusive learning environment where all students feels they are valued in the classroom. They also feel respected and without thinking about their backgrounds. Okay, right. Why professional training is important? For the first one is it is important to enhance cultural awareness and sensitivity. This means that professional training help teachers to understand different cultural norms, traditions, or beliefs, which allow them to interact with students more respectfully and effectively. For example, a teacher might unfamiliar with cultural norms might misinterpret a student's behavior. Uh, for example, if we go abroad teaching in some Asian cultures, avoiding eye contact, which mean is a sign of respect to the elders. While in Western cultures, if we stare to the eyes, it may be seen as lack of confidence. Okay. Number two, we have promoting inclusive teaching practices. For example, a history teacher trained in a cultural inclusivity might revise lesson plans to include the contribution of all major ethnic groups in Malaysia independence, rather than focusing on one dominant narrative. Okay, the third one is reducing cultural conflicts and addressing stereotypes. Cultural misunderstanding can lead to conflicts and stereotyping in the classroom. So training prepares the teachers to manage such situation effectively. Number four, we have improving communication skills for diverse classroom. For example, in a school with many multilingual students, teachers can be trained to use visual aids or gestures or simple language. It can reduce the language barriers between the students. And the fifth one is we have strengthening teachers' ability to handle sensitive topics. Discussion about races or religions can be sensitive, but they are important in a multicultural classroom. Therefore, by training the teachers, it can equips them with the strategies to facilitate the activities, respectful and open discussions. Okay, next we have types of training to help teachers to become more culturally sensitive. Okay, the first one is we have cultural competency workshops. So usually these workshops main focus is to educate the teachers on cultural traditions or values. For example, a workshop on Malaysians cultural diversity might teach teachers about Hari Raya, Deepavali, Chinese New Year, and indigenous festival like Gawai or Kaamatan, which can help them to incorporate this into lessons. Okay, number two, we have anti-bias and inclusive education training. It is a program that focus on reorganizing or addressing the unconscious biases can help teachers foster a fair and inclusive classroom. For example, we can see that teachers take part in self-reflection exercises to uncover hidden biases in grading, classroom management, or student expectation. Okay, we have number three, conflict resolution and mediation training. Uh, a teacher trained in conflict resolution might use peer mediation strategies to help students resolve misunderstanding instead of resorting to punitive measures. Okay, it means that training in mediation helps teachers address cultural conflicts among students in a constructive manners. Okay, number four, we have language and communication training. For example, a teacher taking a basic Malay, Mandarin or Tamil course to better communicate with students who are still learning English. So this workshop, we can attend workshops on language diversity to help us to engage with students who are non-native speakers of the main classroom language. Uh, okay, right. For I think that's all from my parts. I will pass this presentation to Mira. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Isyarul and Tasha. Okay, I will be continuing the presentation on the subtopic of role of teachers' personal behavior and attitudes in shaping students' view on social cultural diversity. Okay, so teachers' personal behavior and attitudes actually play a crucial role in shaping students' view in terms of social cultural diversity. Teachers are not only instructors but also role models who influence students' social, emotional, and cultural development. And their actions, attitudes, and also the way they manage diversity in the classroom can actually significantly affect how students perceive other people from different backgrounds and how they interact with one another. So, with that being said, let me introduce to some of the roles of teachers in terms of their behavior and attitudes. Okay, moving on. Okay, the first one, first and foremost, everything must start with the teachers themselves. What teachers need to understand that children, especially primary school students, especially children, they tend to look to teachers as role models, and teachers should be one. Teachers who demonstrate respect and appreciation for all cultures and ethnicities serve as powerful role models for students because students they observe teachers whether teachers notice or not, and so teachers need to take this opportunity to model respect and tolerance in classroom especially. So the impact on students' behavior is students, they tend to mimic the behavior and attitudes of their teachers, especially when those behaviors are consistently demonstrated in day-to-day interactions, for example, in classrooms. And so when teachers show respect for diverse cultures and backgrounds, students are more likely to adopt similar attitudes, which lead to promote social harmony and inclusivity. Okay, so the second one is teachers have the power to create a positive and inclusive classroom environment. Okay, so this is through building an inclusive atmosphere. So what it means by that is teachers who are sensitive to the cultural backgrounds of the students can foster an environment where everyone feels valued and included. They can make efforts to incorporate diverse perspectives into lesson plans, discussions, and classroom activities, ensuring that all students feel represented. Uh, feel represented, just like Natasha and Isyarul presented just now. They include incorporating knowledge about other cultures, festivals and celebrations, so that other people from different backgrounds of culture can share the knowledge and understand the differences. Okay, so in terms of encouraging collaboration, a teacher's attitude towards collaboration can also shape how students interact with peers from different backgrounds. So, teachers who encourage teamwork and group work among students from diverse cultural backgrounds actually help build connection and understanding between them. So, among them, so this leads to a stronger sense of belonging and community among students, which improves the overall school climate. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the third one, teachers also need to foster empathy and emotional intelligence. Teachers who show empathy in their interactions with students help cultivate emotional intelligence in their students. So, when teachers show genuine interest in their students' cultures, experiences, and perspectives, it encourages students to do the same for others, because students, they learn through observation. So, when they see that teachers do so, they tend to imitate. So this fosters empathy, a crucial element in understanding and appreciating socio-cultural diversity. And what it has impact on peer relationships is that when teachers actively listen to students' experiences and when they promote empathy, students are more likely to develop strong emotional connections with their peers, despite the differences. And this can result in more harmonious relationships and less conflict. And if there is, they are able to handle the conflicts in a healthy way. Okay. The next one is challenging prejudices and stereotypes, which we cannot escape from when it comes to differences in terms of social cultural differences. And it is the teacher's responsibility to address bias and discrimination. So, teachers' attitudes toward prejudice and discrimination are vital in challenging harmful stereotypes. So, teachers who proactively address issues such as racism, sexism, and other forms of bias in the classroom can help dismantle these negative perceptions and promote a more inclusive mindset among students. Teachers can incorporate discussions about equity, fairness, and social justice into their teaching and give students the tool to critically analyze social issues. Okay. The next one, in terms of preventing discrimination, what teachers can do is teachers' behavior can prevent discrimination by ensuring that students understand the harm caused by stereotypes and biased behavior. So when teachers address inappropriate comments or actions in the classroom that has been made by students, they establish clear expectations for respectful behavior. And this can create a safer and more inclusive environment for everyone. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, to sum up everything, okay, next slide. Okay, overall, what we can understand is teachers as facilitators here. It is not just merely the words facilitators, but teachers really need to understand deeper what are the roles when it comes to facilitate students in terms of multicultural differences in classroom. So teachers help students to be open-minded and see the beauty of multicultural, and they guide students to navigate positive outlook on the differences of multicultural. So teachers have to focus on creating an environment where students are actively engaged and encourage them to think critically and collaborate with peers and learn from each other. So rather than simply transmitting information, teachers as facilitators, they guide students through their learning experiences in ways that respect and honor the diverse backgrounds and perspectives that are presented by the students. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, uh, based on Isyarul and Tasha presentation, we can conclude that what teachers need to do in classroom is actually embracing the ethnic diversity. How? Okay, teachers can embrace them through promoting cultural awareness and respect. And we can see it through celebrate diverse holidays and festivals, just like Isharu has mentioned, incorporate diverse perspective in curriculum, discussion of cultural traditions, and also their practices, so that the students will feel familiar with the differences. And because if they are not exposed early on in schools, they might feel a little bit culture shocked if they were to be exposed later in life. Okay. So in terms of professional training for teachers in addressing cultural diversity, um, it is essential for fostering an inclusive and respectful learning environment in classroom, especially in multicultural societies like us in Malaysia right now. So effective professional development, they actually equips teachers with the knowledge, skills, and also strategies to manage and embrace cultural diversity. And it includes creating a classroom where all students feel valued, respected, and supported. So here, how the first one in terms of professional training is understanding the cultural competence first. Okay, teachers need to be trained to understand what cultural competence is and why it is crucial in today's diverse classroom. Cultural competence, they involve recognizing the different level of cultural backgrounds of students, understand how these cultures influence behavior and learning, and also developing effective strategies to engage with students from various cultural contexts. Okay, in terms of recognizing and addressing implicit bias here, teachers should be trained to recognize their own implicit biases, because we cannot actually escape from biases. Sometimes we do it unintentionally. And so professional development programs should help teachers to reflect on how their own biases may actually influence classroom interactions and decisions, such as how they treat students from different ethnicity and how they assess students' abilities. Okay. In terms of creating an inclusive classroom environment, professional training should guide teachers on how to develop and deliver curricula that reflect the cultural diversity of their students. This involves selecting diverse texts, historic perspectives, and examples that represent various ethnic groups and cultures, ensuring that all students can see themselves reflected in the curriculum. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I think that's all from me and from our group. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adli.